What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Farzy show in the new house. Yes, in the new house. But you know what? I was thinking, I am thrilled. I'm actually thrilled that the Eagles play tomorrow. You know why I'm thrilled? Because I get to say on a Friday show, tomorrow, the Eagles and Giants kick off in the divisional round of the playoffs tomorrow. Eagles with the number one seed, taking on a team that they beat twice this season already, and they're going to beat a third time Saturday night, 8:15 in South Philadelphia. Welcome into a Football Friday for a Football Saturday show. I am pumped for this because I feel like when they run out onto that field on Saturday night, they are going to give a stamp of approval to their own season. Now, some of you may think, oh, a 14-win season, you don't need to put a stamp of approval on that. You're fine. You don't need to do it. No, this is going to be a flex to the rest of the NFL as far as I'm concerned for your Philadelphia Eagles. When it comes to this game, after the great season that they had, I feel like they're going to go out there and they're going to handle their business and get this W for Lane Johnson, for Jalen Hurts, for Nick Sirianni, and for you, the city of Philadelphia. I can't remember a time. Oh, yes, I can, 5 years ago, because we've been blessed with the Super Bowl in this city finally. But I look back on that season, and like we were talking about earlier in the week with Dave Zingaro, the feeling of in 2017 when you knew that season was going to be special was that Jake Elliott field goal. This season, I'll tell you when I felt. I've been waiting till today, till Friday before the game, to share this piece of news with you guys, a piece of information. I knew this season was going to be a special season when I saw just how much Jalen Hurts had progressed for the first three games of this year. When I think back to those games, I think back to watching Jalen Hurts, and I remember thinking to myself, and I couldn't help it, but like a lot of you, I might be a little, I don't know, dissuaded when I hear about how hard a guy is working in the offseason just because of the timing with Ben Simmons. It should my mind have gone there? No. Should a lot of people's mind have gone there? No, of course not. Two totally different athletes, two totally different people. So when I was watching videos of Jalen Hurts throwing to A.J. Brown or Quez Watkins or whoever it might have been, Devontae Smith, I was thinking, okay, all right, that's fine. That's good. He's working out. And as I always tell you guys, whenever I see videos of athletes working out, I'm like, oh, my God, an athlete exercising? An athlete working on? Oh, my God. You know, it shouldn't be that big a deal. But if it's not on Instagram or TikTok, did it even happen? So I'm watching those videos. I'm like, all right, great. Let's see what happens. And then you see Jalen Hurts drop back. You see Jalen Hurts scan the field. You see Jalen Hurts, I feel, continue to make good decisions when he does run the ball. But you see him just really pinpoint accuracy when it comes to the deep ball, pinpoint accuracy when it comes to the slant route. The first couple of games where I'm watching him with A.J. Brown, and I'm seeing A.J. Brown run those little 5-yard slants, I'm like, this, and the ball is right there in the breadbasket. I'm like, okay, all right. This guy, we are seeing the fruits of his labor in the early goings of this season. And that's when I knew something special was going to happen, because we knew last year, we knew his rookie year, that Jalen Hurts was an incredible athlete. We knew that he could scramble. We knew he could buy time in the pocket. I had said throughout the entire process, and you guys have watched this since I originally used this backdrop when we launched the show almost 2 years ago now. I knew that Jalen Hurts' arm strength, which was a huge knock on him for some Jalen Hurts haters out there and the people that were actually rooting against him. He's got a rag on his arm is fine. Arm is fine. And I think that when he played against the Broncos last year in the first half, and people held that great first half against them, but what did he do in the second half? In the second half, they took the foot off the gas. Okay, simple as that. But I felt like a back shoulder throw he made in that game to Devontae Smith, and I feel like when he came out this year was being able to throw the ball deep, whether it was Quez Watkins, whether it was Devontae Smith, whether it was A.J. Brown, the ball was right there. And what I had said through the entire process was his arm's not great. Like, he doesn't launch it, but the arm is fine. And the comparison I always made was Nick Foles. Nick Foles didn't have a rocket arm. Any great season that Nick Foles had for the Eagles, he wasn't launching the ball, and it was like something out of Michael Vick's hand, or it was like something out of Donovan's hand, who could just launch the ball a football mile or a country mile. But it was good. It would get there. It land where it needed it to land, and that's all Jalen Hurts needed. So I always thought he had that. But the pinpoint accuracy on those deep balls, the pinpoint accuracy on those slant routes that you saw at the beginning of this season, when you look at how he came out in that second quarter against the Vikings earlier in the season, when you look at how he played against the Giants the first time around, how accurate he was in that game, in the final drive against the Colts, how great he was in that game. In the fourth quarter against the Arizona Cardinals in that close game, you saw how accurate he was while they were trying to set up Cameron Dicker, the kicker, for the game-winning field goal. There are times where Jalen Hurts showed you just how much his hard work paid off in the offseason. And when you got to see that through the early goings of this year, it was like, kick your feet up, relax, and watch this guy work, because that's how impressive he was. That's how much he showed you the hard work paid off in the beginning of the season. That's when I knew the season was going to be special. That's when I got the biggest hit that this season was going to be special. Other than that, you look at the defensive side of the ball, and Jonathan Gannon gave this team the greatest sack season ever. You know, a guy named Reggie White played here for a long time, right? And now this season is the greatest sack season. Okay. Jonathan Gannon and his philosophy, because I know whenever you use the word scheme, it turns into a buzzword lightning rod for Jonathan Gannon. But whatever his scheme philosophy was this year, it worked a hell of a lot better than it did last year. Why is that? Because he had better players. It's as simple as that. There was no drastic change. You saw games being run by Jonathan Gannon. You saw the tackles loop out over the ends, and the ends come in for ETs and TEs and all that stuff. And that was great. You didn't see a lot of that last year. You saw more than a couple occasions of TJ Edwards coming up the middle of the blitz. You had a safety in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson that you were able to use in that type of situation, like you used Brian Dawkins through the latter stages of his career, like you used Malcolm Jenkins throughout his time here in Philadelphia, maybe even more so to be aggressive around the line of scrimmage. And I thought he used the players he got very well. And the proof was in the pudding. It's as simple as that. When you look at what this defense did, the fact that for the most part, he allowed Hassan Reddick to do exactly what Hassan Reddick said he is best at when he was introduced as a Philadelphia Eagle. Let me play downhill. Let me play fast. Let me play aggressive. That's how he wants to play. 16 and a half sacks later, it kind of worked out for Hassan Reddick. And when you have a defensive front like that, when you have an edge rusher like that, when you have Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis for the majority of the season eating up a lot of guys in the middle of that line of scrimmage, and you have Javon Hargrave eating up guys in the middle of that line of scrimmage, you can do a lot with your secondary. It's a perfect storm of a defense when you're attacking any offense, especially if it's Daniel Jones, if it's Saquon Barkley, whoever it might be down the line, the Dallas Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers, whatever it might be, whoever it might be, the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You have a great defense set up here. And we've been able to watch it all season long. And for the vast majority of the season, they've been dominant. When they had issues with not being able to stop the run, they just dialed up the Dominican Sue, Linval Joseph, and said, hey, fellas, plug up the middle of the line of scrimmage and let's see what we can do here. So the defense has just been incredible. And I have a lot of confidence in this Eagles team coming out after the bye, winning this game against the Giants, as I think we all have confidence they're going to win this game against the Giants. A lot of confidence they're going to win this game. And then move on. And we talk about it with Clay Harbor, who joins the show today. We talk about it with Clay from a player's perspective. What would it be like to go through that scenario that I've walked you guys through this week of beating the Giants? Somehow the Cowboys beat the 49ers, and you got to roll through the NFC that was supposed to suck, the NFC East that was supposed to suck at the beginning of the year, and then you beat the Eagles, you beat the Giants, you beat the Cowboys, and then you go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if there could be, like, for Eagles fans, beating the Cowboys in the NFC, the championship game, It would almost look whoever you play in the Super Bowl, whoever you play in the Super Bowl, like it's like Super Bowl is no longer the big game. The big game is beating the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't have the Cowboys beating the 49ers. Clay Harbor might have something different to say about that. But imagine that, where it's like you beat the Cowboys and then it's like, you got to get the Super Bowl. That would be pretty incredible. No doubt about that. So we'll get into that even more with Clay. But the number one thing I'm going to be looking at in this game, it really comes down to Lane Johnson. It's the microscope, the biggest microscope I'm going to have over this game. I'm going to get out my football monocle. We all got football monocles, right? And I'm going to be eyeing it up. Lane Johnson. Big circle, big magnifying glass. Looking at Lane Johnson. And I am worried. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. But I'm worried about Lane. And if I'm Wink Martindale, that's the first thing. I'm running a blitz to his side and seeing how you deal with it. I'm going to be seeing how the Eagles use Dallas Goedert. If they're going to use him on that side of the line of scrimmage, try to give Lane Johnson some help, try to work him into the game. The number one thing, I'm not even, when the first snap happens, I'm going to be looking at the top of the screen, assuming the Eagles are going right to left. Left, right to left, yeah. I'm going to be looking, wherever Lane Johnson is, I'm going to be looking at Lane Johnson, and I'm going to be saying, all right, Lane, how you feeling? How you feeling? They made a stop there? Okay, all right, let's see how this keeps going. All right, let's see how this keeps going. And then I'm going to see how much Wink Martindale is testing him throughout this game. And it is a concern. And when we hear from Clay Harbor, one of the things he gets into is the fact that he had a very similar injury to Lane Johnson. And basically, he's like, I don't know how you play with that. I don't know. So we'll hear from him about that coming up in just a little bit. Bottom line is, and I'll give you guys my official prediction right before the interview with Clay. Going to be another quick show today, unfortunately. But with Lane, that's what I'll be looking at. And when I look at this game overall, as I said, I just feel like it's going to be an exclamation point to this regular season. Jalen Hurts gets his first playoff win, puts that under his belt, and then they roll into the NFC Championship game. I know we're allowed to do it because we're not playing in the game, but I am looking past this Giants team. And I think the Eagles know. And that's why when we talked to Kobe Dean, I felt like this team just can't lose focus, because the only way this team loses is if they lose focus. And my favorite thing about this team all season long has been their focus. And when Jalen Hurts has been healthy and when Jalen Hurts has played, their focus hasn't strayed. Their focus has been laser focus. And I feel like when this game kicks off, I think the Eagles are going to be out there on a mission to make sure that they put this W in their back pocket as soon as possible and they secure it. I do feel like, as I said before, the Giants are a good football team. I feel like they've never been more confident. They have certainly never been more healthy. I mentioned names like Adoree Jackson, who was not there during their Week 14 matchup. I mentioned Xavier McKinney, who was not there during their Week 14 matchup. They were banged up going into that game. I've mentioned Saquon Barkley only played 31% of the snaps in that game, which was a season low for him. I believe he was coming off a neck injury in that game. They used him sparingly in the first half and barely used him in the second half. And they were going to blow it out in the game. So what are you going to do? Use your franchise running back in that situation? I don't think so. But the thing I think about is in this game is that the Eagles are going to put this win in their back pocket as soon as possible. I think the Giants make it a little too close for comfort at the end, but the Eagles pull it out. After Lane Johnson, I mentioned Lane Johnson. After Lane Johnson, what I'm going to be watching is really what Brian Dable and what Mike Kafka, former Eagles quarterback Mike Kafka, what they do with their game plan. Because if you're the Giants, I think it's obvious, Wink Martindale, you run Lane Johnson. I think the other thing that's obvious is the only way you beat the Eagles, not the Eagles beating themselves, but the only way you beat the Eagles is keeping Jalen Hurts off the football field. And if you're going to do that, you need a hell of a running game to do that. Daniel Jones coming off a game where not only did he throw for over 300 yards, he also led the Giants in rushing with 78 yards on the ground. And I know when you look at Saquon Barkley's stats from last week, you see, 50-some yards rushing? Oh, not that impressive. Oh, do you have 9 carries? Not that impressive. 2 touchdowns. 109 yards of total offense. He's not just a runner. He's a pass catcher. He's had games this year where he'll catch 7 passes. He'll catch 8 passes, whatever it might be, out of the backfield. Very versatile back. You guys know how much respect I have for him. I think he's a phenomenal running back. He glides on the football field more than run. I love watching him play, and I wish he wasn't wearing that red and blue jersey, whatever the hell. But when it comes to this game, you have a guy in Daniel Jones, and you have a guy in Saquon Barkley who can eat up a lot of clock by running the football. So the Eagles got to stop that run. It's something they were able to do in the second half of the season, and hopefully they're able to do it now. The other part of it is you got to be set up well for the screen game because the Giants aren't afraid to use that. If you're Brian Dable and Mike Caprio, what you're drawing up right there is just wasting time running the football. And they're not afraid to get creative either. They're not afraid to get creative in how they're going to get Saquon Barkley to football. And Daniel Jones, hey, look, he's not Jalen Hurts. But, man, when it comes to scrambling, when it comes to buying time, when it comes to trying to rip off a 15-yard run that could break your defense's back on a 3rd and long, yeah, that's going to be frustrating. And there's probably going to be one of those in this game. Hopefully not 2. But the Giants do have 2 guys in a quarterback and a running back that can kill some clock. And if the Giants are coming into town in a playoff situation, riding the high that they are, the one thing that I'm going to be looking at, just as I'm looking at it from the offensive perspective, I'm going to be looking at how Lane Johnson holds up right away. I'm going to be looking at how this defense plays against the run because the Giants are going to come in here, and like every team, they're going to try to take the football away, win the turnover battle, but because that's how the Eagles also lose. But on top of that, they're going to be running the football and trying to make sure that they're keeping Jalen Hurts off the field and A.J. Brown and this dynamic offense in general. I thought I'd be hearing from you today. Guys, we're going to end the show with the interview today. So I want to make sure I get a couple of you chatters in here. First off, to the OGs of the Farzy show. Do you remember the backdrop? You remember this? You think I threw it away? I didn't throw it away. I got it. Right now, it's basically covering all my shrapnel from the move. So it's the setup in the studio there. And I don't know if you guys heard the air conditioner just turn off. The growing pains of a new studio. Let me get to some of you guys over here. Blue City Empire Sports, good. Keep sleeping on us. We want it. See, here's the thing. I don't know if you're talking to me when you say that, Blue City Empire Sports, but you might be saying that to other people in the chat. What's your opinions about the New York Football Giants so far? My opinion is that I respect them. I think that they're not. I don't think they're going to win this game, but I give them a lot of credit for. They started out the season great, got to 7-2. Then they just couldn't keep up with all the injuries they had. They go a calendar month without winning a football game. They have that awful tie against the Commanders, and then they get just blown out of the water by the Eagles. And then they win against the Colts. They secure their playoff spot, and that's that. And then I think they did a smart job in not playing their starters against the Eagles in the final week of the season. Random Anton, nobody is sleeping on the Giants, just confident in our team. See, that's a good way to put it. That is a good way to put it. Most of us are confident. Let's see here. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Kevin, good morning. April! April, a fancy banner. Yeah. Sean Gillespie, I hope the flex, remember the Commanders and the Saints who were playing for pride only, just saying. Yeah, fair enough. Sean Gillespie, new banner for a new year. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Sean Mally! Mally, y'all see Mark's eyes? The wake and bake. Serious today. I think I'm allergic to the new house. So, long story short, cats always get me. Dogs have started to get me again, which is weird. Dust mites get me. This is all proven medically. And mold. So that's great. Mold gets me in a new house. Just what I want. My asthma mold detector to go off. And yeah, my eyes are burnt. Oh, I'm seeing myself now on the monitor. Oof. Damn. Anyway, Blue City Empire Sport. May the best team win. Who you, Rob Lowe, with the NFL hat on? You know, I literally just hope both teams have fun. April, hello again. Good morning, Mally. What's going on? Kevin, what's going on? New York Football Giants. I got you in there. There you go. No one is sleeping on. Okay, good. All right, got everybody. Coming up, we're going to get to Clay Harbor. I think I get to it in this prediction when Clay gives me his, but in case I didn't, Eagles are going to win this game. Eagles are going to win this game. I'm sticking with 30-24. They unfortunately do not cover the 7.5 points that they're being given in this game. The Giants that are being given in this game. But I think the Eagles win this game 30-24. I think the Eagles come out hot. I think the Eagles come out and score on their first possession. I think they make us feel all warm and fuzzy in the early goings of this game, and then it's just a matter of holding on and riding it out to the end of this football game where they will advance to the NFC Championship game. Jalen Hurts puts his first playoff win in his back pocket. Can't wait. Sixers on a roll. Great win over the Blazers last night out there in Portland. For those that actually stayed up and watched it. I watched Joel Embiid in the first quarter go coast to coast like it was the easiest thing in the world. Like he was running point like Magic Johnson. It was great. Well, except Magic would have passed it, but whatever. Lane just dribbled through the lane. Like nobody got in his way. It was great. Then the Flyers lost a tough one last night. After the game, John Tortorella was like, "Yeah, we were flat. We were pretty much flat," and they were flat from what I caught of the game, which was unfortunately very little. But yeah, I'll be hopefully a little bit more set up for a show on Monday. I doubt it because this is going to be a long process. We got, just to keep you guys aware, not to overshare, we got to do some work. It's in the house. So, yeah, I will be as up to speed as I can be with all y'all. But I will be Saturday, tomorrow. I will be with the Jacob Media Network coming up at 6 o'clock. I believe we're going to do our pregame show. Me, Seth Joyner, and Derek Gunn, as we do every week, with John McMullen checking in from Lincoln Financial Field. And then, of course, I'll be back with you guys on Monday as well. A little bit later today, I'll be on Fox 29 at 7:45 from Chickies and Pete's in South Philadelphia. Look forward to that. And one thing before I get to Clay Harbor, I do want to give a shout out. Like there are random people, and I'm sure you guys remember random people that maybe some other people don't remember. They're at least tie-in to Philadelphia. But I do want to mention former Sixers coach and former Celtics coach as well, Chris Ford, who passed away. Chris Ford is lodged in my brain as the guy that benched AI. If you remember, Chris Ford, after Larry Brown left, or was fired, let go, whatever, quit. After Larry Brown left the Sixers, Randy Ayers took over. He was an assistant, and they felt like it was the proper thing to do to go with the Larry Brown, somebody from the school, Larry Brown. It did not work out. Sixers were 10 games under 500 with AI, and I think Chris Webber as well. And they ended up firing Randy Ayers, and they ended up promoting Chris Ford to be the Sixers head coach for the final 30 games of the season, whatever it was. And I just remember he came in with a "I don't give a damn" attitude. Like I'm here for a minute. I'll do whatever the hell I want. There's going to be no repercussions for me. And I remember he benched AI, and I think AI being late on Fan Appreciation Day was under Chris Ford's watch. And Chris Ford didn't like that, just as though none of the fans and certainly none of the media liked it either. But that sticks out of my brain as a guy. When he took over, he was like, man, bleep this. He was an NBA champion. He'd been with the Celtics. He'd been with the Sixers. He'd been in the Olympics, too, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he's from Atlantic City. So he was a local guy. He didn't give a damn, man. He was like, hey, I'm here only for a minute. I'll do what I want. I'll try to set a little bit of a tone for later in these guys' career. Didn't really work out well for everybody else. But Chris Ford was here for a couple of minutes as the Sixers head coach, interim head coach, if you will. And he moved on. And I always respected him for that. I always thought it was a really entertaining last couple of months of a season when Chris Ford took over. What I didn't know, and you always find out things because everyone does tributes and write stories and all that stuff. He's credited with he has the first NBA three-pointer, which is an incredible stat. So I wanted to make sure I gave Chris Ford a shout out on the show today. So rest in peace, man. All right, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line right after I talk about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. For all your jewelry needs, enjoy the perfect price at Steven Singer Jewelers. The perfect price, now what's that? Now other jewelers will market things way up just to mark it down a couple of bucks in front of you and make you feel like you won something. But at Steven Singer Jewelers, you get the perfect price guarantee. Now, what's the perfect price guarantee? I'll tell you what the perfect price guarantee is. Well, the jewelers will market things up. Steven's keeping it at the perfect price. So you don't have to feel like you have to negotiate or haggle, or you have to, when's the sale? No. Sale is every day, because that's the perfect price guarantee. That's Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, the perfect price online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Let me tell you about Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping when you go to Manscaped.com. That's Manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped.com when you use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy at Manscaped.com. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. 20% off with promo code Farzy as well. And how about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs at PHLSportsNation.com. All right, on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, Clay Harbor joins the show today. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be back with you guys on Monday. Go Birds. Orthopedics guest line, and my first guest in my new somewhat studio, even though I'm throwing it back here with the banner in the background, Clay Harbor, former Eagles tight end, joins us. What's up, Clay?
Not a lot, man. I'm sitting here in New York City, and I know I'm in the enemy's territory right now, but trust me, my heart's in Philadelphia. Love the banner, and congrats on the move, man. That's big time. Got the big move, the first guest in the new house, new studio. I feel special, man. Let's knock this one out, man. Let's go Birds.
Yeah, let's do it. When I officially build the new studio and not just put a banner over some Home Depot boxes, that's what I'll have you back again for just to kick off that studio on its maiden voyage.
You're gonna have to send me your banner guy, because I could use a banner back here too, man. I obviously have to come up with a slogan, but I'll get a nice little banner color scheme behind me. I think that looks pretty cool.
I like it though. The brick is solid. The little blurred brick, it's nice. Nice touch. Yeah, very rustic.
Yeah.
So you are in New York. You're back in school. God bless you. And you're getting the vibe up there in New York. Like, the people in New York, are they talking about Giants football right now? Are they feeling themselves a little bit, beating the Vikings? Does that put their confidence over the top? Where's New York at right now in all this?
I am walking around today, walking to my gym, to WeWork, where I get all my schoolwork and stuff done, and going, you see a little more Giants gear today. They feel like they're walking around with a little swagger, more Giants gear, a little pep in their step. And I hope they know that their season's coming to an end here in a couple of days, on Sunday or Saturday.
We got a Saturday game.
Night at late one too. So
8:15.
They're confident, man. There's a lot of Giants gear out. You can kind of feel the electricity in the city. Division rival, Eagles Giants playoff game. Winner goes to the NFC Championship. Wow. I mean, doesn't get much bigger than this.
From a player's perspective, let's put you back with the Eagles for a second. Let's put you on the Eagles. And let's say you get the number 1 seed, which is great. Then you got to beat the Giants, which is nice. And then let's just paint this picture where you got to then beat the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game to then get a Super Bowl. I don't know. There might not be a time in history where the Super Bowl wasn't the biggest game of the year. It was just beating the Cowboys in the NFC Championship.
And then on top of that, you're probably going to be going against one of your old coaches, and you get to beat your old coach, Doug Peterson or Andy Reid, or on the other side of the bracket. As a player, man, I mean, first off, the bye week's huge, especially for a team like the Eagles. They got some veterans. Obviously, they got some guys recovering from some injuries. So that's huge to get the bye week so they can, they can rest up and get back 100%, focus on the Giants. They get to watch that game on TV live, we're probably playing one of these teams, so they're watching it there. You come in, you watch the tape, you watch it again, you watch the last game you played against them. In this case, they probably wouldn't watch the last game since, the Giants were resting some of their players, and the Eagles were running that that offense that really didn't seem like the Eagles' offense. Obviously, they just wanted to get the W. So and keep Jalen Hurts healthy. So then you go back and you watch the last Giants game and you just get prepared, man. This Giants team's good. I'm not taking anything away from it. And they're a tough team. And it's going to be a hard game, but I think the Eagles are just the better all-around team, man. And that D-line, I think the game's going to be one up front. I think this D-line is really going to get after the Giants, Daniel Jones and Saquon.
I agree. And I think Saquon can go off at any moment. I think the handcuffs are on him a little bit against the Eagles in the first game they had, even though the Eagles blew out the Giants 48-22. And Daniel Jones is coming off a great game. But I do want to ask you this because you mentioned the bye week. Are you a rest or rust type of guy? Like, is the rest better, or does it matter how many players you got to get healthy? Are you, generally speaking, the bye week is always a great thing? There's no such thing as rust, or you got to keep playing and keep practicing hard and don't get rusty?
Yeah, you got to keep practicing hard. It all depends on how you use it. And I mean, you look at a guy like Coach Reed and the bye weeks back when we were playing in those days. I mean, he was unbelievable after the bye weeks. And what people are like, what's the secret? There was no secret. He literally just let us go home for a week and we come back and we start practicing again like it was normal, and literally just kind of get out, refresh, regroup. Then you got to come back, and it just makes the week of practice so much more important. Yeah, you come back on, say, Monday and you get a 10-10-10 practice is what we used to call them. 10 plays offense, defense, like quick practice. Get the juices flowing, then you jump right back in on Wednesday. Well, then probably Tuesday, because it's a Saturday game, so everything moves up. So they probably did it on Sunday, 10-10-10, off day Monday, jump back in on Tuesday with the regular practice, base packages, and you just go back in as it's a regular week. And you just got to keep it and mirror it as much as you can to the regular season. People think, oh, it's the playoffs, you got to do all this new. No, man. What's that say about what you're doing beforehand if you're not preparing for the regular season game as good as you could? No, you just go back to that routine and just do what you do. And a team like this, Philadelphia, you just go back, you do what you do, you call the same plays, you go through the same practice, you watch the same type of tape. And I mean, it is a little more intense in the playoffs. I've been blessed to play in 3 playoff games. It's a little more intense, but I mean, still football. You go through that same routine, and there you go. I mean, there's nothing that changes. It's still football, and the Eagles still have the better team.
Yeah, that's what I default to. Overall, yeah. I see the Giants. I think they actually play well in this game. I don't think they play well enough to. I don't think they play bad enough, to get blown out. I think they kind of hang with the Eagles, but you never really feel all that threatened that the Eagles are going to lose the game. It's kind of one of them deals, and we'll get to your official prediction in a second. But when we do talk about health, 2 guys we're focusing on here in Philadelphia is Lane Johnson and Jalen Hurts. What have you heard about both those players? Lane, how close to 100% do you think he'll be in this game? And Jalen Hurts, how close to 100% do you think he'll be?
Jalen, I think he's going to be 100%. He had an extra week off. He played the week before, and he's going to deal with some pain, but everybody deals with some pain. You're never 100% in the NFL season. There's always something. You're like, dang, man, like this hurts, but it ain't going to slow you down. So Jalen, I think he's going to be playing through some pain, but he's a tough guy. He's going to do that. Everybody says how tough this guy is. He plays through stuff. He's a hard worker. He's going to get himself right. I'm not worried about Jalen. Lane, on the other hand, I think they he hasn't really talked to the media. I've been looking to seeing what Lane's saying. Is he going to play for sure? Is he not? And you feel for Driscoll, because Driscoll probably wants to know too. It's like, bro, am I playing or am I not? Like, let me know. Like, that's a bad spot. He wants to play as a backup. Say if I was back in the day in Celtics, questionable. I'm like, okay. Like, am I playing? There's just this click in your brain. Like, if you know for sure you're playing, you're like, okay, it's on. But if you don't know, you're 50-50. It's just as much as you want to just say, prepare like you're playing, prepare. There's still that thought, I could be doing all this and I still can't play. So I feel for Driscoll. I think Lane's going to try, because that's who Lane Johnson is. I mean, the guy's a barbarian. I mean, hardworking dude. The guy, he's a guy that, you would see in the old movies. He's on the front line, swinging an axe, running at the opposing army, yelling. Like, Lane Johnson's going to play, okay? Lane Johnson is going to play, but how good is he going to play? Is he going to be able to execute? That's a tough injury. If it's a tough, like, sports hernia or adductor, something like that, I know I've had those, or hip labrum. I know I've had those too. I've had 3 hip surgeries and sports hernia surgeries total in my career. I know how hard that is to play with. So that being said, there's a good possibility where Lane goes and he tries to play. Thibodeau gives him some move, and then he strains something, tweaks it, and like, oh man, now Driscoll's in. Now that changes things because you don't got Lane Johnson, who's a brick wall, gave up 0 sacks this year. That's such a big part of the game. I know people realize how good he is, but they don't realize how important that is. A guy like Lane, you don't even have to worry about him. You don't have to chip. If you don't have to chip, you get more guys out on passes. You can chip the other side. You can help Mailata, and you don't have to worry about Lane Johnson. So I hope he's okay. I say all that to say this. I hope he's okay. I know he's going to start trying to play, but this is probably an injury. If it's what I'm thinking, like they didn't give the exact injury, hip, groin, like who knows exactly what the diagnosis is here. If you move a certain way, sometimes that stuff pulls. I would have to get injections before every game to go out there, and still this stuff would hurt. So I feel for him.
Could you imagine? Yeah. Could you imagine going out and playing right tackle every single snap, every single play with that injury?
Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. I mean, there's going to be some. These guys are underrated too. Like, these guys can play. These guys can rush the passer. I was watching film on them, like, wow. I'm surprised. I mean, they don't have huge sack numbers, but I mean, I was impressed with this D-line. This D-line isn't like, if you think of a D-line, it's not the first one that comes to your mind, but they're good. They're good. I don't think they're Eagles good, but they're good. And going in and playing, if you're 75% in a game like this against athletes like that, is going to be hard. But I still think Lane Johnson at 75 is better than most other tackles in the league at 100, man, especially Jack Driscoll. Nothing against Jack Driscoll. I think he's a solid backup. Mm-hmm. But I still like Lane at 75, just knowing the type of guy he is.
Yeah, sure. No, I understand. And if you're Wink Martindale, I mean, the first thing you're doing is testing Lane, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're testing him. You're testing him. You're lining him up. You're saying, hey, let's see how healthy this guy is. I guarantee you they're talking about that, which is messed up. The bounty game stuff back in the day. We don't have bounties anymore, but he's talking to their guys and saying, we are testing this guy. He thinks he's going to play this game. He thinks he's tough. We're going to see how tough he is. Send blitzes. Send stunts. They're going to be doing stuff to try to mess up Lane and see how healthy he really is. So it's going to be interesting.
All right. Here's a question for you then. I want your official prediction for this game against the Giants. How you see it going down? Last I looked, which was before I moved, which I think was 3 years ago, it feels like. I was 7.5 still. So what is your prediction on this game? And then what is your expectation of this Philadelphia Eagles team in the playoffs? Where does their season end?
Okay, so my prediction, I got respect for this Giants team. Brian Daboll, when I played in New England, was my tight end coach. I love Brian Daboll. He is a smart guy, very intelligent. I learned more under him in tight end than I did, in my entire career everywhere else. And I mean, that's why Gronk was such a good player. He got to, have Daboll early in his career. And I mean, this guy's he's a special coach. He's stern, but he's still funny. Like, he commands respect, but he's a perfect coach. And obviously you see that as a coach of the year. There's a guy that can really connect with his players, and he gets the most out of people is the thing I would say. He literally knows how to get the most out of you. And that's what he's done with this Giants team. I think Daniel Jones, I think we know he's not a guy that's going to do 3-step drop and out, but he's a big guy with long strides. He had 70 yards last week in a playoff game, threw for over 300s with a subpar receiving group. To me, I think the Eagles can shut down the offense. Saquon obviously is one of the best running backs in the league, but you take away the running game. You take away Saquon and Daniel Jones' feet, make him throw the ball, and I don't think you can in this defense with these cornerbacks. So I'm taking the Birds. I'm taking the Birds by 10, 30-20, the Birds.
I like that little Chicago. That's going to be so perfect.
Chicago, the Bears, the Birds.
I got to ask you a Chicago question, but not till later. All right. So Eagles win this game, and then their season ends when? Do they make it to the Super Bowl? Do they make it down Broad Street? How does the season end for the Eagles?
I think the Eagles beat the Giants, and next week I think the Cowboys are upsetting the 49ers. I think Brock Purdy's time runs out. I think we got Cowboys versus Eagles in the NFC Championship game in Philadelphia, night game. I mean, I might leave New York City because it's going to be there might be riots here. That's how crazy this game's going to be. The city's just going to be uncontrollable. So Eagles versus Cowboys. Eagles beat the Cowboys in a shootout. An epic game. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be like Chiefs versus Bills last year in the divisional round. They go to the Super Bowl, and they're playing against their old coach. I mean, it's bittersweet. You're playing against Andy Reid, the guy who you cut him. I think he's still bleeding green. He ain't bleeding Chiefs red yet. And Coach Reid versus the Eagles, and I think Coach Reid and Pat Mahomes are going to win it this year, man. I mean, they're too good. They're too good. But Eagles are going to be there. Eagles to the Super Bowl. Coach Reid comes away with his second ring, and Patrick Mahomes with his second ring.
I can. If I'm taking an L, I can take that one a lot easier than losing to the Cowboys. That one, I can lose to Andy. I can't take losing to the Cowboys. So
something about Jerry Jones just rubs me the wrong way, man. I mean, he's a nice guy, whatever, but maybe it's the colors. I don't know.
Maybe it's the colors. Maybe it's the 8 faces he's had. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Now I got to ask you this. Did you see the story about Nick Sirianni and his pizza, his stuffed crust pizza, his Pizza Hut, and all that stuff?
Yeah. He's eating. He ordered a stuffed crust pizza. Not Chicago style, but he had the stuffed crust for the team, for the coaches watching the game.
Would you take offense leading up to, say, a Bears game, as a Chicago kid that you are? Would you take offense to him saying something like that when you guys hold stuffed crust pizza so important?
So it's like the Giants saying they ordered a bunch of Philadelphia cheesesteaks. Is that what they're saying? And
pretty much.
We're eating Philly cheesesteaks watching this game. I don't know. I think pizza's just so broad. It's a little bit different. Oh, here we go. We got a superstar with us here.
Yes, we do. Hi, sweetheart. Oh, you're going to bed? Okay. Love you, sweetheart. Say goodnight, Clay. All right. So stuffed crust pizza, Chicago, large deep dish pizza. How would that feel against, if he was doing that, against the Chicago Bears?
I don't take offense to that. I mean, pizza is just such a popular dish, man. I think everybody eats pizza. So, I mean, you can look into it and say maybe he's trying to do something, but I don't think Sirianni's trying to go that mental just tactics right now, like the art of war, getting your opponent's head. Like I don't understand what the point of that would be.
We were just talking about the art of war on this show like last week. I would love for Sun Tzu to have a line in there about pizza. Oh, my God. That'd be fantastic.
You eat Clay. Your opponent's pizza.
Clay, always great talking to you, brother. Thanks so much. And you still doing the Jaguars podcast and the Chicago Bears podcast?
Jaguars podcast, Bears podcast. Follow me on Twitter, Talking Birds, baby. I'm doing it all. Doing it all out here, guys. So you'll find me on my Twitter.
I gotta say, man, that was one hell of a comeback by your Jags, brother.
Oh, unbelievable, man! Unbelievable comeback. And my man Reuben Frank picked Trevor Lawrence. I was listening to his podcast too. He picked Trevor Lawrence as the 8th best quarterback out of 8 in the playoffs right now, and I was pretty upset about that. I tweeted at him, man. I got to see if he tweeted back at me yet, but I wasn't happy about that. I think Lawrence is a solid 5.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, the 4 first half interceptions, but the comeback and Brock Purdy and
those weren't his fault. I watched the tape. I broke it down. They weren't his fault.
Understood. Okay. Well, I'll make sure Rube acknowledges that tweet, man.
Yeah.
And he and Dave Zangaro. Dave was just on the show earlier in the week, and they do a great job on that podcast, Eagle Eye podcast, of course. Yeah. Yep. And you and I got to know each other along with Rube. During the bar show at Vesuvio in South Philly. Yeah,
that was fun.
Good times. Clay Harbor, ladies and gentlemen. Clay, thanks for being the first guest in my horrible new studio for now, at least. All right, great catching up with you, brother. Man.
Send me one of those. Send me a signed banner, please.
You got that's maybe a T-shirt. It probably won't fit. Clay, thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.
The great Clay Harbor joining us on the Ruffin Orthopedics guest line.